All right, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending whereabouts you are in the world. Today we are back to try and have a bit more luck with an ammonite. Had some rough luck with the last couple, so I've got something a bit different. It's one of the grey shales decks. So in Yorkshire we have different layers of rocks that have different names. They go through the middle lias, and then the first section of the upper lias you get to in Yorkshire is the grey shales, and they are typified by a diversity of these dactyloceras ammonites, or possibly called orthodactylites ammonites, which have a very distinct set of ribbing and also a lighter grey sort of nodule, and that's why they're the grey shales. So yeah, they're very, very distinct nodules when you see them, and then if you ever tap them and see the ammonites in them, they tend to be quite nice. I've jinxed it now by saying that, but they come in a couple of varieties. The most common are the tenicostatum and semisolatum ammonites. I think this might be teni just based on the rib density, but we'll have to have a look as we get into it, because the tenis are very ribby, the semis tend to be bigger but less ribby, and then there's a couple of rarer species called the Clevelandicum and Crosbyi, and a diversity of other ones that Neil's book Thwarson does go into some detail about. But before we do any of those IDing, we're going to have to prep it. There's a nice crack already that formed on this side, so hopefully the prep should be all right as we come in here. I'm hoping similarly that it will do the same on this side. We'll prep down to it and see what's what. Hopefully we've got a middle. And hello, Mr. Landfill. I'm glad you've got a good feeling about it. I have a feeling, but the feelings are not always positive at the minute about my ammonites, so we'll see. I'm optimistic that one day we will find one with a middle. Whether it is this one, I am not yet sure. So we'll see how we get on with it. So yeah, I'm gonna just put you on mute, but if you've got any questions or comments, feel free to chuck them in chat. I'm going to try my best to not wander too far off screen with this. I'll bring you down a little further just to try and avoid it. But sometimes if you start seeing it disappearing down here, it's because I'm looking at the fossil under magnification. But I'm hopeful we won't need magnification for a bit, so I'll try and keep it all out in view for all of you before that. So yeah, we'll put you on mute and then we'll get prepping. and never get bored of when it does that nicely, and they just pop off. So yeah, just nice big chunk came off. Didn't do too much damage to ribs or anything, so ideal. But yeah, this bodes well so far. The last couple of grey shales decks I've seen, unfortunately, were all a bit crushed, and it's not uncommon for them to be that way. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. Hi Finn, hey Shirley, good to see you both back. Yeah, so just cracking on with this lovely grey shell stack. A little concerned that I've hit a couple of bits of what look a little shelly for my liking, way up here and in the wrong place. So I'm hopeful that's just calcite veins, because there is another calcite vein that runs through here, and it's just, I'm hoping that's one that's running through on an odd angle looking suspicious, because yeah, if you look, the ammonites down here and the middle where we are in here, or towards the middle, that should be quite a long way under matrix. I'm hopeful that's not ammonite. I'm also going to just blitz through it and pretend I didn't see it in a second. So we keep our fingers crossed that it's not ammonite shell, because if that's ammonite shell, this thing's smashed to pieces. But I'm going to keep my fingers crossed, go through it and pretend it's not there, and then just keep going down towards the middle. Congrats, Finn, on moving house and trying to organize your displays. That is something that I always have fun discussions with people over, because I'm not sure anyone has the perfect way to put things up, because inevitably, however you plan to start doing things, you end up then running out of space and having to completely change your categorization system. So I know mine, at least initially, was sort of all of the things that I liked most in the middle, but mostly by grouping. So I've got a shelf of mostly litos, but then there's some bone blocks on that shelf as well. Oh no, litos are on their own shelf. The bone blocks are with the Hildies, and then the shelf below the litos is the DAC relatives? Question mark. And then I've got pseudos on a shelf, and then Perinoceros and spiny things on a shelf, and then on the top shelves there are the Claviceros, the Harpoceros, all sorts of things. So I had tried to originally group them by sort of things, and then yeah, it all fell apart very quickly when you realize you have too many things that don't all fit nicely into the groupings. And then my second shelf ended up being roughly stratigraphic, but also not quite. So yeah, I need to redo mine at some point. Yeah, saying Cheryl, sounds like you're busy having fun figuring it all out as well. I have to say, I saw, I think it was one of the Lee Walker maybe, put up his prep setup yesterday on one of the Facebook groups. I was quite envious. It's like, I've got a little tiny, like, 2 tables with all my stuff on it, and he had an entire garage filled with his prep boxes, his aerobrader, his saw, etc., etc. Yeah, I say that's not a bad way to do it by location. I have to say, I don't blame you for just having a CAD shelf, because CADs, and for people who don't know, the Cadoceros are the big, basically giant round ammonites. And I say giant, they're probably not much bigger than that in terms of around, but they then are almost a ball in terms of width. They're really lovely big things, and they polish up really beautifully when they come from the Cotswolds, or can do at least. You get them in Yorkshire, but they're a lot less common, and don't seem to polish as nicely. Yeah, Finn, if you I want to know, so I've got the dimensions of my box available. I don't know if Shirley's got I sent Shirley the images, but it would need you to just double check everything. And I would also recommend, like, the size of my box. I forgot what it is. It's probably just shy of a meter wide. I'd say 80 centimeters or so. And then the height is the big thing. I regret how tall I've made mine, because I have issues with the pen, like, catching. We do that, and then when I'm doing certain fine work, I'm basically bouncing the back of the pen off of the glass. I'm very jealous of your CAD box. I know I've got a mate who's down in the south, and he's got just a shelf of CADs as well, and they're stunning things. I'm quite envious of them. But then that's probably very similar to you, that if you live in the area and hunt the area, it's what you're going to have a lot of. And it's like I have a shelf of cats, and a lot of people don't have an awful lot of cats, but because, again, I do a lot of Ravenscar times, lots of cats. So yeah, I get it. Yeah, I was going to say, when it comes to the prep box, you can get a homemade one. You can copy the size of the ones. There's a few people who make them now. They're a lot of money, but at the same time, having one sort of out of wood that you've made yourself, or can get someone to make it for you, is probably a much cheaper way. But yeah, I've got the dimensions. If you just drop us a message through the website, or cutfossils@gmail.com, I can just forward across the things. But obviously you'll need to do a double check and sanity check things. So I was told that some of the measurements weren't quite right, but I suspect that's to do with the thickness of the wood, and someone wasn't thinking. Yeah, I can happily forward on at least the dimensions of my box, which sounds ludicrous, but thankfully everyone here understands what's going on. Yeah, so Shirley, in response to what you're saying, the blast boxes, yeah, you can make a blast box work. You're probably even better off. Um, it's just figuring out if you can change one. But yeah, effectively, a blast box is a shortcut for what you would use for your aerabrator anyway, because they are spraying things with powders within the blast box, so it works just as well, if not better, for certain things. The big thing you need to consider is obviously your space, as Finn's saying, but also what you're doing in your box, if you can get the appropriate lighting for it, if you can get enough space to do what you're trying to do. And you basically, there's always a compromise that you're trying to do something. A lot of people just do away with a box and you end up with an open space that you somewhat constrain your debris from flying everywhere from, and then you need a big extractor, and they tend to be the ones that are venting to the outside world. But you can have other alternatives, and it's just trying to figure out what works for you. And there is no single best option. There's a lot of things, and they're all making a compromise for something, and it's usually space and cost. So having one that you can change and manipulate is also not a terrible thing. Where, as I making some, if you buy a pre-built thing out of steel, you're going to be very difficult to change it to suit your needs, at least in terms of modifying it, unless you have the right tools. Whereas a piece of wood, you can do. So yeah, it's all down to personal preference, and each solution is going to be unique, and you probably can change your setup to make anything work. It's just figuring out what is going to be the best option. And for people in Yorkshire, for example, you'll need something that you can definitely do most of your prep with good extraction, because of the pyrite content in the rock, but also just know you're going to be doing probably very little abrading, because the majority, at least for the upper layer stuff, the majority won't abrade particularly well just because of how hard the rocks are. But if you play with the lower layer stuff, a lot of that abrades with iron oxide, and that then you're probably going to be doing an awful lot of air abrading. So yeah, it's finding what is the right single thing for you, or the right compromise for you, or having multiple setups if you have the space and money to do it, which is then again where I sit enviously watching some of these people who have like a whole shed. I wouldn't be complaining if I could turn my shed into a full prep setup like one side does. The pens, one side does the abrasive and all the rest, but that's not a realistic option anytime soon. Typically there is a piece of definitely ammonite shell with a couple of little ribs there. And if you look at where the ammonite shell should be, we should be half a centimeter below that. Concerning. I hope that's just a stray bit from a different ammonite, because the next swirl in seems to be in the right place, so we'll see. Alright, so good questions, Mr. Landfill. So, in general, if you hit something and you see that there's an ammonite in it, so this one, for example, I had hit, and then you just see just enough, like even just a few ribs that you go, oh, that's definitely an ammonite, it's there. And some of these are really distinct, like you see just enough of that, you're like, yeah, definitely worth keeping. Some of these are squished, and they're the ones that I would probably hit again. If they look squished on the beach, sometimes they're worth hitting again just to check if they're all there, or if they're all squished inside, there's a good chance that they won't split well, but also they won't prep well. So sometimes they're worth hitting again. The other thing that we do is we always talk a lot about ammonite nodules looking a bit like burger buns, and if you can imagine this one looking a bit like a burger bun, they're kind of rounded on both sides, obviously quite a big burger bun, but if you pretend that sort of that line is your midline, it's got that sort of curve on one side, then pretend that instead of having a flat bottom bun, you have a second curved bun. They're the ones that you hit if you can't see anything showing, so this one didn't have a lot looking like it was showing, so you give it a hit just to check if there's anything inside, and as soon as you see there's something inside, in this case there's an ammonite here, that's when I stop hitting for things now. There is definitely a school of thought that depends an awful lot on what tools you have at home. If you didn't have prep tools and you're just gonna have 100, 1,000, however many nodules just sat on your bench unprepped, then you're probably better off smacking it again. But if you're going to do the prep or have someone do the prep for you, then yeah, don't keep hitting it. The more you hit things, the more likely you are to explode them. It's basically like playing with one of these, but the tip on it, instead of being that size, is hammer sized, and so you can kind of get the idea that if you get it slightly wrong, what you're going to do to your ammonite is very different. And then when it comes to keep or toss, this is completely down to the individual person. What I do tours now, shout out to all the tours. If you ever want to do one, come sign up, check out the website. But people always ask what's worth keeping, and the answer is, do you like it? And that is the only answer I can give you about whether or not you keep a fossil. What I like and what I keep is going to be very different to someone who has absolutely zero ammonites in their collection. So some of these things that I'm putting into my scrap pile, my rubbish pile, so things like the ones from yesterday, someone who's got no ammonites might love those. And so there's a very different level of thinking depending on what you have in your collection in general, or what you're planning to do with the thing. So again, a lot of the collectors will pick up lots of scrappy bits because you can sell a lot of the scrappy bits as like a big box of scraps for, say, £5 or whatever, to like school kids who might just enjoy it, or schools who might enjoy just being able to give out little bits of fossils for basically nothing. Whereas for me, a scrap is, what am I going to do with a scrap when I've got 2 IKEA bookshelves full of fossils? It'll completely come down to you and what your decisions are coming down to keep or toss. I've got a lot in my collection, and in fact I really wish I had it sorted by what I'd collected first and what I've collected now, and I could show you like the difference between some of the things that I've kept when I first started collecting on Yorkshire versus what I keep now. And there's an awful lot of things that I would consider scrappy now that I picked up at the beginning because they're the first time I'd seen some of them. But at the same time, there are things in those scraps that I've looked at and gone, oh, I'm glad I picked that up and kept that, because sometimes you pick up a scrap but it turns out to be it's a scrap of something really rare that you just didn't know of at the time. There is no single, you should pick up this, you shouldn't pick up that. It's, do you like it? Do you think you can do something with it? Why are you taking it off the beach? can you carry it off the beach? These are all the sort of things that go through your head. And so there's plenty of things that I pick up, like even the ones from this weekend, that I picked this one up just because I like the look of the Amarosas. I thought it was good. The block itself's pretty scrappy. I like the fact that it was just sat with a shell. But the rest of the block isn't worth it. It's a really giant block. The gastropod in it would have probably been worth keeping had it been there. But this block as a whole, probably not worth it for anyone who's got a lot of Amarosas or isn't interested in middle lias blocks. It may yet get hit again because there's some interesting layers of shell still through it. Would I expect anything to it? Probably not. But you always just sit and look at them and go, maybe. But yeah, that kind of ultimately comes down to what are you keeping, and there are things, plenty of things that yeah, I was very chuffed with the Nautilus. I gave it to the family that I was out with on the tour, actually, which I know shocked a lot of people that I gave it away, saying it's only the third one I've ever found. But I have a better one in my collection, and yeah, I would keep it if I hadn't been out on a tour, and probably would have sent it away to get polished up and had a look. But at the same time, for me, I've also got a never-ending decision tree going on of, if I give this away for my tours, does it make the tours look better that people could get a Nautilus on my tour? And yes, it will look better. And will it potentially improve the review I get? And will that potentially help me get some more customers? And ultimately, the instantaneous joy or value of that find is no longer my collection. It's a bit bigger than that, and my living. And so I was asked if I would like to keep it by the dad, but I'd made a deal with the sons, the kids that I was out with, that if they found a couple of ammonites that they could have the Nautilus instead. And I think that longer term was better for me as a decision, and also at the same time I think it means that the kids enjoyed it more, which also I get a lot of pleasure out of people enjoying fossil hunting, and so that in itself is a big deal for me. But yeah, it's I love nautiloids. I laugh because where I found it was in the main fossil hunting area for most people. So at Runswick Bay, I don't know how many people know it, but there's basically a big sandy beach. I could map it out. Woo! Let's see if we can do this. Big sandy beach. Cove. This is the town. Yeah, there we go. So roughly. So Runswick Bay, the town, is here with the car parks and all the rest. You come down onto a pretty long strip of sandy beach. The first rock falls of which are at the end of it, sort of down here, and curves up and around, and it goes through an old landfall. And then you sort of have this landfall, and then it ducks around, and then it goes up again just off shot here, which would be into the Kettle Nest Bay. And this headland, which is the end of the old landfall, is where most people start fossil hunting, and where we were fossil hunting. And there's a little tiny beach just here where we were splitting down things, and it was literally just in some rocks there. So it's the area that everyone fossil hunts. I didn't go a particularly long way, but I have to say the tours have had a big bonus for me, that I slow down my hunting. And so I see different things, and sometimes that is a big deal if you're in an area that's heavily picked or whatnot. It makes a big difference just to slow things right down, and you'll see different things, not necessarily more, you'll see differently. The Nautilus was just sat there looking at me, which was quite helpful, but you see a lot more edges and bits and pieces, so it's nice. You won't probably find anything big, but it's not to say you won't find different, smaller, just as rare things. And so yeah. Anyway, I will get back to prepping. Yeah, I'd say I'm glad you had a similar experience. Honestly, I've seen some crazy things like it. One of my favorite ones was I was down at Cliff when I was doing my PhD with a group of school kids, and I was part of a bigger project from University of Bristol. Um, and we were taking kids down to Ost to find some fossils, to talk to them about the Triassic exposures there, the climate change, all sorts of goodies that come with that whole area. And one of the teachers literally put her bag down and sat on top of a lovely little ichthyosaur vertebra. I've never found an ichthyosaur vert there, and they just basically sat on it. And it is amazing how much different the world is when you are going slow. I'm not saying it's better, it's not saying it's worse, you see it differently. And honestly, I think fossil hunting sometimes benefits from it. Everyone's in a scramble to get to the furthest reaches because no one's been there. But there's a good chance that walking quickly, you're missing those very subtle signs that unless you've got fantastic eyesight, you're just not going to see them. And yeah, there is a lot to be said for going slow. I know Liam of Forgotten Fossils, he spends a lot of time in the rock pools, for example, and he's looking in places that people aren't looking, because most people are looking near the base of the cliffs for the fresh falls. But sometimes you find different things by looking differently, and sometimes the slow is definitely an important thing. And I also find that going slow sometimes is good for the brain, just to be able to sort of turn off, because you're not in a rush, you're not feeling stressed to go find the fresh fall at the furthest reaches of the beach. You just enjoy being out more, and there is a charm to that as well. I do enjoy it. Hey Finn, I don't know exactly where the first part of that story is. It sounds like you got hit by a rock or something hit you. But the first part of that never came through. Got your harpo bit by sitting down, and then yeah, you CAD in the nodule that obviously caused you some pain. But yeah, I'm missing the first part of that story. I don't know if that's just my end or not. Huh, weird that's come through so oddly. Yeah, I have to say I didn't get it through at all, but I mean I am relying on my thing, so who... Oh, I see, that's possibly why. This is the landfill being all of my hands at once. I found a nice big CAD just by going through it, so yeah. I got it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it seems ridiculous that wouldn't have shown up as you're the second most chatty person in here. Why that wouldn't pop up. But yeah, funny that you sat on it. I mean, there's plenty of great stories like that through Paleo. I think my favourite one is a gentleman, actually a gentleman, a very, very famous dinosaur paleontologist, the name of Phil Curry, who does all the dinosaur digging, or not all of it, but a lot of the dinosaur digging in the western parts of Canada. And his favourite, or his famous story that I actually had read about in a book before him, was that he dropped a camera one day whilst out on the field and it fell down a cliff, and when he went down to pick it up, he found that the camera was just sitting on the top of a dinosaur skull. I mean, there are some parts of Canada that is a fully believable story. I know it sounds ridiculous, but there's a place called Dinosaur Provincial Park. Highly recommend a chance to go if you ever can afford to go and love dinosaurs. The place is bonkers. There's so many dinosaurs in it. It's appropriately named. I got to spend 3 weeks there on field work with Phil Curry's group. We dug up a tyrannosaur. But honestly, this place is in bone beds that are kilometers squared worth of dinosaurs. It's honestly mental how many there are in some of those areas. And like, you walk across what you think are little pebbles and rocks that are just sort of on the ground like you'd expect in any normal place, but they're not just pebbles, they're actually pieces of worn dinosaur bone, and that's what the pebbles are in some of these places. Honestly bonkers. And so yeah, I can fully believe the story that the camera's just sitting on top of a dinosaur skull. Also because the last day we were there, we were digging up a turtle that someone had found. I went around the corner to go for a toilet break, and yeah, as I was going off the edge of a cliff, looked down, or was about to go off the edge, I looked down and there was ribs sticking out. So yeah, I had to move where I was going to go, because there's dinosaur bones sticking out the cliff. So yeah, fully believe how ridiculous some of these stories are, because yeah, I've seen some of these places and it's just nonsense how many there are in some of them. Yeah, I'm glad you are aware of all of these things, Mr. Landfill. It is greatly appreciated, all of your experience with it too. So I got a similar issue that we had the other day. So the shell's just peeling straight off, not necessarily a terrible result. It does make pulling matrix off easier, but I do quite like shell where I can, keeping it in place. So you can see, hopefully, the difference between shell on versus shell off here. But this area has obviously been exposed to the elements, and is a lot more friable. So all of this shell is peeling off without trying too hard. So I'm just going to put a little touch of glue on it in the hope that it may not peel quite so easily. It may do, but it might at least slow down the peel rate so that we can keep some of the shell on. But we will see. If it does go everywhere, it goes everywhere. It's not going to be the end of the world. But as I said, I quite like the shell. But they are sometimes a pain in the butt. So you can see the difference between where some of these ribs are, how fine they are, and the fact that there's matrix in between them. So it's a bit tricky. Shirley's off to Dorset coast next week, so I've been watching fossil hunting videos from there, of course. I honestly, Shirley, I still say that's the best way to find ammonites in Charmouth. Honestly, I think park up down near the Heritage Centre, wander to the right when you get to the beach, past all of the loos which are up just behind the Heritage Centre. Along the front, then you've got sort of like a little walkway across the cedar fences, and you go down onto the beach and just walk along the shingle there. On your right hand side would be the cliff, on the left hand side the sea. Just keep walking until sort of the cliff comes out, or appears to come out, and it does makes you take a sort of a left along the beach instead of just walking straight, and it's the bottom of an old landslide at Black Ben. And if you're in that sort of area, look down, and if you find big pools of pyrite on the beach, that's a good spot to just plonk yourself. And honestly, you can sit and pick through that for ages, and it's a good way to find crinoids and belemnites and ammonites, and I have found a vertebra there doing it like that. And I know plenty of the Heritage Centre tours pick up marine reptile bone from it. Admittedly, there are potentially 50 people on some of those tours, and so the odds of someone finding something are fairly high, but it's still yeah, quite a cool thing to do. And if you're not finding something in that spot, stand up, move a little bit further along, find another big pool of pyrite area, or somewhere near to a pool of pyrite, and plonk yourself again and scrape through the stones, turn some stones over. You'd be amazed what there is amongst it. And then obviously, yeah, if you're hoping for something more exciting or more rare than those little teeny tiny things, then yeah, you do have to get a bit more adventurous, and sometimes your odds of finding something are much lower, particularly in places like Charmouth and Lyme Regis, which, like, a busy day here on the beach is 5 to 10 people on fossil hunting, whereas a busy day there is hundreds of people. It's a very different endeavor to find some of those big rare things, but still there, still bits coming out. I've seen several bits of shark come out over the last couple of weeks, so yeah, good luck to you. Let us know how you get on. Yeah, I was gonna say I haven't been in quite a few years here, so I can't specify. You're probably also likely to be dodging at least most of the big groups of people because you're not going to be in the middle of school holidays. Although I think in an email you said you might be catching up with the Fossil Fest, in which case it could be absolutely heaving. So yeah, it's tough to know exactly how crazy busy it's going to be. As to Mr. Forgotten Fossils Liam, that's one of them. It needs probably an abrade, but I can't get the matrix off very easily without high magnification, and it's not great for streaming because it's super sticky, at least the bits that are remaining. So that one was one, and then annoyingly the other one, which we got out just to show the size difference that you can get, was one of those Shelly blocks, which for some reason seems to have absolutely no preservation of the whorls on the left hand side, but it goes right down to a teeny tiny center in the middle. But for some reason the whorls on the side nearest my finger just aren't there, so who knows what's going on. Yeah, so the Amarosauruses were a bit of a bust. Well, not a bust. This one's not terrible, not brilliant, but it's not terrible. This one, not good. And with the DAC, not good yesterday. It was a bit of a bum day, it must be said. So, yeah, not fabulous. And so I thought, you know what's easier? Let's do a Grey Shells DAC. And then this one's just being a little sticky at the minute. So some of that's probably me trying to keep all the shell on. Some of that's just how it goes sometimes, as you know. probably the right way to approach it, surely, is yeah, don't take it as a holiday with a little bit of fossiling rather than a fossil hunting holiday, and you won't be disappointed. There's plenty to see and find, even if it's just a few bits and pieces for a little container on the beach. And yeah, sorry Mr. Landfill. The Dakotas is probably the closest place for you for ammonites. There might be some places inland in the Carolinas, but I don't know my East Coast Mesozoic marine exposures. But I was going to say, I think yeah, it'll be the Great Inland Sea. Was anywhere that was underwater through then would be your best bet, but I have no idea where your exposures are, so I wish I could help. Yeah, I have to say, Mr. Landfill, the Petoskey's, I still think they're beautiful. The Hexagenaria are lovely, lovely corals, and getting a good lapidary set up to polish things, I think I would like to have here. I know there's some good, fabulous ones that people have over there for doing the Petoskey's, but yeah, I'd love to get a couple of good setups here. Was it Michigan Rocks? I think he's got some of the best setups I've seen, and he's got one that even makes little spheres of them, and I think all of those look fabulous. I wish I could do it. I really do. Yeah, I was going to say the UV lights look great too. I love the idea of just walking around on the beach with a UV torch. I know someone here was doing it to show off the calcite in the ammonites that we get, and there's a few of our rocks that we have here. The siderite nodules, which sometimes get called lightning stones over your way, with their calcite veins, but also glow a treat under UV. In fact, the first tour I did before I was doing this full time with a guy who builds fish tanks. He collected a bunch of them because he was planning to do UV lighting with them. I don't know if he ever did. I'd need to keep an eye out on his channel actually and see if he did, because I was curious to see what could happen with them. And yeah, the UV light does add in a different dimension, and all the calcite glows under it as well. A lovely blue color, and the UV lights are all orange, aren't they, if I remember correctly? So I've seen the pudding stones too, and they're sort of those lumps of like the reddish, other almost conglomerate stuff that's inside them. And, yeah, they are unusual. I have to say, I mean, I can see where they get the name pudding, because you obviously imagine like a cake with like currants or dates or whatever other things scattered through them. It makes a lot of sense, at least as far as Brits are concerned for pudding. But I have to say they don't appeal in the same way that some of the others do. I also quite like some of the slags and things that you get as well. Some of those look really nice when they're layers of molten metal and glass that have all come out in layers that are the man-made ones. So everyone has their things that they like, and I have to say, like, having watched some of those videos, I have to say pudding stones are the ones that appeal least out of them, but I can see why for some people they are appealing. I'm sorry, this is slowed right down. This got really sticky. So despite even trying to glue some of this, some of this shell on this side still popped off, but all of this got really sticky. So it's just taking a little bit longer to get down through it than I would have liked. But we're going. I will also say it's the thing that I've found hardest is to trust the process. Like, you can be doing an awful lot and nothing seems to happen, and then all of a sudden you've basically removed all the matrix and it's basically just pop, all the last bits of matrix come off and life gets very easy very quickly. But it is very tough to get to the point that you trust that's what's going to happen, and so I have to say it's one of the things I've enjoyed doing with fossil prep. Is just learning to trust the process, because you do it properly and everything will eventually do what it's supposed to do. It just takes a long time for it to happen. So just like that, all of the sticky matrix got down just far enough and the matrix popped, and yeah, then you see the whorl starts to come out pretty quickly, pretty cleanly. But yeah, it's just trusting the process. So we're getting there. It's got a lot of work to still go, but looks promising for a middle at least. And just switch over to the smaller tip and see if we can tidy up a lot of this and then figure out what we're going to do with this. My suspicion is that from about here till about here, it might be a little flat, just because of the shape has changed, or at least the ribbing seems to not be up as high, so this ribbing's higher than this ribbing, so I suspect it might flatten out there. But yeah, so far so good. It is not fast, it is a lot slower than it could or should be. I say should be. It's slower than the professionals do it by quite some way. It's a lot slower than Liam would do it, I have no doubts, especially for the quality that I'm producing. It's not a rapid endeavor, but we're getting there, and it's nice to have something that has a middle, at least seems to have a middle so far. But I am going to apologize, as I just cranked down power and everything, that I'm going to go under some magnification. So again, if you see the thing disappearing off down here, it's because my magnification is down the bottom of the screen, or at least would be at the bottom of the screen if you could see it. So bear with if that's the case. Hey Tom, advice for natural beeswax. I think the answer is that most people don't use natural beeswax, is the honest answer. I think most people are using the liquid stuff that's got one of the horrible chemicals in it, turpentine. And I think that's what makes it liquid for a lot of people. I can just show everyone what's going on. Also, just taking a quick break. So we're down to pretty much the middle. I struggle to do middles with a 1.5mm tip, but that's about as good as it's going to get with a 1.5mm. There's still plenty of matrix on this section here that I'm working on tidying up, and all of this obviously. So yeah, we'll keep going. It's taking longer than I would like. There's a bit of a moment where I could just put a pen through this and give up trying to protect any of it, and just it would probably all pop off quite quickly. Like the middle layers, there's no shell really on any of it, and it comes off quite cleanly. It's kind of similar to this bit here, and all the bit I tried to save the shell on, it's all come off anyway. But yeah, funnily enough, the bits that I've not tried to protect the shell, it's where all the matrix is, and it's why it's taking so long. But yeah, I was going to say, otherwise, Tom, all I can suggest is if you've got a candle or like one of the little tea lights or a little thing on the hob, and yeah, if you're going to do it with the natural one, you probably just want to have a little tiny amount, a really tiny amount that you can basically stick somewhere that's going to just keep warm. I think a little mount over the top of a tea light is probably the easiest way to do it. Or if you've ever watched people who do opal cutting, they always melt wax on theirs, and they have a little tiny like oil-based light just hanging around, but it's like a little teeny tiny one, little, not even like a camping stove level one. And you probably just want that just ready to go. But yeah, it's a surprisingly tiny amount that you need, like a little paintbrush amount for it, and it goes a long way.
Times don't fly too
Right. I've got to a point where I'm basically going very square-eyed or flat ammonite-eyed. So you might just be able to see there's the ridge there, which is where it's compressed. And now it's basically just trying to tidy between each and every one of the ribs, which I cannot really do a great job with 1.5mm tip, because believe it or not, all those rib gaps are smaller than 1.5mm. So yeah, it's a bit of an endeavor, and so basically it's actually breaking off a lot of the ribs just to get through to clean in the gaps, and it's yeah, taking a long time, and I'm not going to sit here and do it for the next 30 minutes. Sorry to say, my brain is gone. But yeah, it's not a terrible one. Goes down to pretty much middle. Believe it's a tenny, but it might be a semi just based on how pyritic the material is. I'd need to have a look. That's how yeah, and 1.5mm is the smallest I've got on this one. So they do make pens that do smaller than 1.5mm, but I do not have one. And so there's a Micro Raptor from Maya, and then there's the Ballure, and then they do go down to sufficiently small that you could do it, but I do not have the spare 300-400 pounds required to buy one to then try and do it, and for the sake of a few ribs, which when you look at the rest of it's already gone. Sadly, not worth it. So yeah, unfortunately, I will have a go at finishing it off, but I'll do it under magnification off stream. But yeah, it won't be saving many of the ribs. I'll try and save what I can, but it's just, the reality is can't save them, not with the tools I have. But yeah, on the plus side, it's got a middle. It's in pretty good shape, minus the fact it's slightly crushed on this end. Sadly, it doesn't go to the mouthboard, it would have continued further, but I don't know where that bit was, presumably broken on the beach somewhere. But yeah, good size, and nice to have one with the middle today after the debacles yesterday that basically nothing had middles. This will look even better when it's actually all beeswaxed or varnished up and given a good rinse. It's actually in pretty good nick. I haven't done too bad a job, if I do say so myself. This all looks really scruffy, but it's actually not too shabby. So yeah, so I'll try and finish that off, and then you can all get a look at it hopefully tomorrow when it's all said and done and cleaned and all the rest. There's a bit of doing on the matrix as well, because yeah, most of this broke on a nice clean plane. I haven't done it to anything on it, but yeah, just around this top it comes up, so that needs smoothing down, and so that typically I can't just leave it all flat as it would have been naturally. It needs actually leveling out, and so that's going to be an endeavor itself again. But yeah, I'll see what I can do tomorrow before I actually stream, and then can hopefully show you all on stream the finished product. If I can figure out which way around I need to aim this for you guys. It doesn't want to sit. There we go. So yeah, that's us said and done for today. Apologies, I should and would love to finish it off, but as I said, brain is starting to go on me, and I also have to go pick up my son in 15 minutes. So I need to go feed a dog and do all those other life admin jobs that come with the territory. Yeah, that was a little scale bar just to show you how big it is. Mostly about 1 centimeter each of those. So what's that, 7 across? Yeah, just over 7 centimeters across. So by the time you actually put the other one in, say 8 centimeters across. Not a terrible deck at all. So I'm glad it's there. Tom, good luck with finding something in your cupboards for waxing things. Tour business is going all right, but it's about to get very quiet, so I've only got one tour through all of June currently. So I'm hoping to be out an awful lot next week. I've got plans to be out 3 times next week to go hunting and hopefully get some more videos, because I know it's been a long time since a fox hunting video. but also I need to do some more leafleting around the coasts for dropping brochures and getting people to come out on tours. So if people know anyone, feel free to keep advertising me and pushing me on all your friends and family members and all the rest. But yeah, I'll catch up with all of you tomorrow. So a big thank you as always for watching. Look after yourselves, be safe, and I will catch you all soon.